This is lesson 424, a spelling dictation lesson. And in this lesson, we're going to work with words that represent exceptions to vowel groups 1, 2, and 3. Let's talk about exceptions to vowel group 1 first. Sometimes, because of its position in a syllable, a vowel according to vowel group 1 would normally represent its short sound, but instead represents its long sound. In this instance, underline the number 1 under the vowel. The underlined vowel group number indicates that an exception to vowel group 1 is occurring and that the vowel is representing its long sound. Exceptions to vowel group 1 most commonly occur in one-syllable words containing the vowels I or O when they are followed by two consonants. And there are hundreds of words, possibly thousands, in this category, and two examples of that would be child and colt. So if you have a one-syllable word with the letter I or O, and the I or O is followed by two consonants, particularly L plus another consonant, then there's a very high degree of likelihood the vowel in that situation will represent its long sound. So what we do is we assign vowel group 1 and write it under the vowel. However, we underline the vowel group number to indicate an exception is occurring. Now let's talk about exceptions to vowel groups 2 and 3. Sometimes, because of its position in a syllable, a vowel according to vowel group 2 or vowel group 3 would normally represent its long sound, but will instead represent its short sound. In this instance, underline the numbers 2 or 3. When vowel group numbers 2 or 3 are underlined, the underlined numbers indicate that an exception to vowel groups 2 or 3 is occurring and that the vowel is representing its short sound. And then you see two examples of this. In the word divide, in the first syllable, di, I comes at the end of the syllable. That's vowel group 2, and vowel group 2 says the I will represent its long sound. But the word is not divide, it's divide. I is representing its short sound in this word. So we write the number 2 under the I, but we underline the 2 to indicate an exception is occurring. And the same situation occurs in the word gone. We have a silent E at the end of the word gone. Normally the O, according to vowel group 3, will represent its long sound. If that were the case, the word would be pronounced gone. But we don't say gone, we say gone. And therefore, there is an exception occurring to vowel group 3. We write the number 3 under the O, but then we underline the 3 to indicate an exception is occurring. Now, exceptions to vowel groups 1, 2, and 3 often cannot be predicted prior to sounding out the word. In those instances, trial and error is the only method by which a student can know when an exception to the first 3 vowel groups is occurring. So now I'm going to dictate words where you will experience exceptions to vowel groups 1, 2, and 3. We have 10 rows of words. Row 1, the first word is bass. Bass. The bass player is very good. Bass. 3 sounds. B, A, S. Bass. Identify our vowel sounds. And we have here one vowel sound. So this is a one-syllable word, so we don't divide it. There's nothing to divide. The only thing left to do is assign a vowel group number to the vowel. And here we have one. We have one vowel followed by a consonant. However, the A in bass is representing its long sound. So that's an exception to vowel group 1. Therefore, we underline the number 1 to indicate that fact. Now, there's another way that we can pronounce this word, and that would be bass, as in the bass fish that people like to catch in the lakes. We spell the word bass as in a bass guitar player and bass as in the fish in the identical way. However, for marking purposes, we would have to mark them differently, and they, of course, mean very different things. So the screen right now is the bass guitar player, and we have an exception to vowel group 1 here, and the A is representing its long sound. But the word bass can also be pronounced in a different way, and it means something totally different. So the word right now, the way we're pronouncing it, bass, is the bass guitar player. But if we pronounce the word bass, as in bass fish that people catch in the lake, then we're going to have to mark it in a different way. So in bass, you have a short vowel, as vowel group 1 indicates it would be when it's one vowel followed by a consonant. So we would just mark it with a 1. But again, let's go back and look at bass. In bass, we have one vowel followed by a consonant, and we're going to underline the 1 because here there's an exception to vowel group 1, and the A is representing its long sound. So this word can be pronounced in one of two ways, bass or bass, and it's a totally different word depending on how it's pronounced. And we have to mark it differently depending on which word we're dealing with. The next word is cadet. He is a cadet in the military school. Cadet. Now, for spelling purposes, we're going to have to exaggerate the sound and say cadet. Cadet. Ca has two sounds. K. A. Det, three sounds. D. E. T. Cadet. Now, step 1, we're going to identify any teams we have in the word. We don't have any. And now we're going to look for vowel sounds. We have 2 vowel sounds. So let's count the consonants between our vowel sounds. We have 1, and we need to apply syllable rule 1. The final step is to assign vowel group numbers. The problem is in ca, ca, we have one vowel at the end of the syllable. That's vowel group 2. But vowel group 2 indicates the A would say its name, and we would pronounce the word cadet. But we say cadet. So the sound the A represents is much closer to the short sound. So what to do? Well, we put a 2 under the A, but we underline it to indicate there's an exception occurring. The next word is grind. Grind. I need to grind some corn. Grind. 5 sounds. G, R, I, N, D. Grind. We don't have any teams here, so the first step is to identify our vowel sounds. One vowel sound, so there's no syllable division required. So now we assign our vowel group number. Now we have one vowel followed by a consonant, and according to vowel group 1, this vowel would be short and we would pronounce the word grind, but it's pronounced grind. So how do we handle that? We put a 1 under the I and underline it. Remember, the most common category where you're going to have an exception to vowel group 1 is in one-syllable words that have I or O. And if the I or O is followed by 2 consonants, then there's a high degree of likelihood the I or O will represent its long sound, and particularly if it's I or O followed by the letter L. The next word is tribute. Tribute. They gave a tribute to him. Tribute. Tri, 3 sounds. T, R, I. Butte, 3 sounds. B, U, T. Tribute. Now, at this point, I'm just going to ask you to pause the video and completely mark the word. Once you've done so, advance the video to see if you've marked it correctly. Tribute. 2 is underlined because we have an exception to vowel group 2. Vowel group 2 says if you have one vowel at the end of a syllable, it will represent its long sound. But we don't say tribute, we say tribute. Row 2, scold. Scold. Please don't scold the little boy. Scold. Scold has 5 sounds. S, K, O, L, Scold. Mark the word. Scold. Vowel group 1 is in effect. However, the O is long, so we underline the 1 to indicate an exception is occurring to vowel group 1. Honey. Honey. I like some honey on my pancakes. Honey. And we're going to exaggerate the pronunciation of the first syllable slightly and say ha. This has two sounds. H, ah. Ni has two sounds. N, e. Ha, ni. Mark the word. Ha-ni. Now, the O in the word honey is really, in conversation, we say which is what we would call the schwa sound. But for purposes of spelling, we want to give clarity so we can remember the letter we use to represent the vowel sound in any given word. So we say ha. Now, if you say honey, then you're going to have to indicate an exception to vowel group 2 is occurring. And to say honey is a lot closer to the actual pronunciation of the word than to say honey. The next word is chamber. Chamber. The chamber is closed for the holiday. Chamber. Chame, 3 sounds. Ch, a, m. Bur, 2 sounds. B, Chamber. Mark the word. Chamber. A is followed by a consonant, vowel group 1, but it's representing its long sound here, so we underline the 1. Credit. Credit. Your credit is excellent. Credit. Cre, 3 sounds. K, r, e. Dit, 3 sounds. D, I, t. Credit. Mark the word. Credit. Here, E is representing its short sound, so we have an exception to vowel group 2. Row 3. Famish. Famish. Famish means to suffer severely from hunger. Famish. Fa, 2 sounds. F, a. Mish, 3 sounds. I, sh. Famish. Mark the word. Famish. Wild. Wild. That animal is wild. 4 sounds. W, I, l, d. Wild. Mark the word. Wild. Holster. Holster. She put the gun in her holster. Hole, 3 sounds. H, o, l. Stir, 3 sounds. S, t, Holster. Mark the word. Holster. Now, ST is a blend here, but we don't put half circles under the S and the T. Why? Because the S and the T is not in any danger of being divided into separate syllables. We only mark our consonant blends in order to lock the letters together so they can't be broken up into separate syllables. Salute. The soldier gave a salute. Salute. Now, for spelling, let's say salute. Sa, 2 sounds. S, a. Lute, 3 sounds. L, u, t. Salute. Mark the word. Salute. So we give the A short sound here. In conversation, we would pronounce it salute, but for spelling purposes, salute. Row 4, mind. Mind. I mind if you don't come with us. Mind. 4 sounds. I, n, d. Mind. Mark the word. Mind. Decade. Decade. The decade went by so quickly. Decade. De, 2 sounds. D, e. Cade, 3 sounds. K, a, d. Decade. Mark the word. Decade. Scroll. Scroll. Scroll down on the page. Scroll. 5 sounds. S, k, r, o, l. Scroll. Mark the word. Scroll. And remember the floss rule: when you have a one-syllable word that ends in F, L, or S, particularly when the vowel is short, you double the F, L, or S. Color. Color. What is your favorite color? And we pronounce this word color. So the first syllable ka has 2 sounds, k, ah. Lor, 2 sounds, l, or. Color. Mark the word. Color. Again, the pronunciation in conversation is color, but for spelling, color. Row 5, gross. Gross. Please don't be gross. Gross. 4 sounds, g, r, o, s. Gross. Mark the word. Gross. Pint. Pint. We had a pint after work. Pint. 4 sounds. P, I, n, t. Pint. Mark the word. Pint. Divine. Divine. Your cake is simply divine. Di, 2 sounds. D, I. Vine, 3 sounds. V, I, n. Divine. Mark the word. Divine. So I clearly, in the first syllable, is representing its short sound. So we underline the 2. There is an exception here. It's not representing its long sound. Sold. Sold. The item is sold. 4 sounds. S, o, l, d. Sold. Mark the word. Sold. Row 6. Polish. Polish. You need to polish the furniture. Pa, 2 sounds. P, ah. Lish. 3 sounds. L, I, sh. Polish. Mark the word. Polish. Now, this is another word that can be pronounced in a different way, just like bass and bass, and it has a totally different meaning. If I say Polish, as in referring to a person who comes from Poland, then we would mark the word as such, with a capital P, and we would put a 2 under the O, and it is vowel group 2 here where O is representing its long sound, so there's no exception occurring. But back to Polish, in the O in Polish, the O is representing its short sound, so there is an exception to vowel group 2 occurring, so we underline the 2. The next word, devil. Devil. Don't be a devil about this. Devil. De, 2 sounds. D, e. Vil, 3 sounds. V, I, l. Devil. Mark the word. Devil. Mold. Mold. They broke the mold with this guy. Mold. 4 sounds. M, O, L, D. Mold. Mark the word. Mold. Climate. Climate. The climate is changing quickly. Climate. Now for spelling, we pronounce it climat. Cli has 3 sounds. K, L, I. Mat, 3 sounds. M, A, T. Climat. Mark the word. Climat. Row 7, dozen. Dozen. There are a dozen eggs in the carton. Dozen. We need to exaggerate the first syllable and say da, which has 2 sounds. D, ah. Zen, 3 sounds. Z, e, n. Da, zen. Mark the word. Da, zen. So for speaking, we say dozen. But for spelling, as we're spelling this word to ourselves, we say the word dazen. Binder. Binder. I took a binder to school. Binder. Bine, 3 sounds. B, I, N. Der, 2 sounds. D, Binder. Mark the word. Binder. Stroll. Stroll. The couple took a quiet stroll. Stroll. 5 sounds. S, T, R, O, L. Stroll. Mark the word. Stroll. Host. Host. He is an excellent host. 4 sounds. H, O, S, T. Host. Mark the word. Host. Row 8. Poll. Poll. The poll indicates the politician is losing. Poll. 3 sounds. P, O, L. Poll. Mark the word. Poll. Behold. Behold. Behold, I bring you gifts. Behold. B, 2 sounds. B, E. Hold. 4 sounds. H, O, L, D. Behold. Mark the word. Behold. Kind. Kind. It is important to be kind. Kind. 4 sounds. K, I, N, D. Kind. Mark the word. Kind. Debit. Debit. I will use a debit card. Debit. De, 2 sounds. D, E. Bit, 3 sounds. B, I, T. Debit. Mark the word. Debit. Row 9. Divide. Divide. I will divide the material in half. Divide. Di, 2 sounds. D, I. Vide, 3 sounds. V, I, D. Divide. Mark the word. Divide. Told. Told. No one told me about that. Told. 4 sounds. T, O, L, D. Told. Mark the word. Told. Disease. Disease. That is a terrible disease. Di, 2 sounds. D, I. Z's. 3 sounds. Z, E, Z. Disease. Mark the word. Disease. Notice S is representing its second sound in both instances within this word. Toll. Toll. You have to pay the toll to cross the bridge. 3 sounds. T, O, L. Toll. Mark the word. Toll. Row 10. Goner. Goner. That team is a goner in the playoffs. Goner. Gaw. 2 sounds. G, aw. Ner. 2 sounds. N, Goner. Mark the word. Goner. Child. Child. The child wanted to play with the other children. Child. 4 sounds. Ch, I, L, D. Child. Mark the word. Child. Livid. Livid. The man was livid about the late delivery. Livid. Li, 2 sounds. L, I. Vid, 3 sounds. V, I, D. Livid. Mark the word. Livid. Fold. Fold. Would you help me fold the clothes? 4 sounds. F, O, L, D. Fold. Mark the word. Fold. And this completes the dictation of words from Lesson 424.